Hello, my name is Wes Dawson. Welcome back to Gabagool, and much like that time that your mother caught you spread eagle naked in your bedroom and you told her that it was hot yoga, nobody's buying it and you ain't gonna live this down. So welcome to part 2 of 45 or 46 topics that weren't good enough to go on our other episodes. And if you're trying to find some form of consistency from last week's episode, whoo boy, you're smoking the wrong shit. As I mentioned last week, these episodes are kind of like my foster children. I don't want to have anything to do with them, but legally I'm obliged to, feed, clothe, and house them. Though I had not prepared any kind of format for these episodes, I still have to get this information out there, as I become the #1 leading source of news information for people visiting my website. Because I am proud to announce that we are the #1 listened to podcast at gabagool8.podbean.com. All right, enough snowballing. Let's get at it. So last week we were talking a little bit about trigger words, what you can and cannot say, what's deemed offensive, what's acceptable. The thing is, sometimes things are offensive, but that's okay. Allow me to elaborate. So a couple of years ago, I was booked to perform on a wrestling show up in Jonquière, beautiful part of this country. Now, of course, I thought it was in Joliette, so I'm like, this is about an hour outside of the Montreal metropolitan area. Oh no, this is about 8 hours north, and that's no exaggeration, about 8 hours north, plus a ferry ride. A wonderful experience, terrific fed up there, terrific performers, great people, everything. So before I performed, I'd asked the promoter a few questions, like, are the cameras present, what's the setup for tonight, and they had assured me there was no filming being done this evening. So I go out, I'm trying to rile up the crowd, basically speaking English was more than enough to get them going, but of course I had to add to that, I had to earn my heat. I go out, there's people yelling at me, cursing at me, I could care less. But then there's this 13-year-old boy giving me the finger. And I don't know what it is. There's something about a young man who is easily about 140 pounds lighter than me, has the muscle density of my foreskin, and is just generally not in a position in life yet to be giving the finger to grown men. It aggravates me. Just beyond the purpose of the event we're throwing, it just gets to me. So I went up to this kid, and as he put his finger near my face, I grabbed his finger, proceeded to jerk it off, or at least make a masturbatory motion with my fist, and then threw his ejaculate into his own face. Of course, there was no actual transmission of fluid. This is all with his middle finger, keep in mind. Regardless, he was furious. His mother was furious, tried to jump the guardrail at me. Despite how the match would roll out, I had already won the evening. Now, people might say, hey, Wes, but that was offensive to do to a 13-year-old child. And I say, it might have been, but I think we all learned a valuable lesson. You know what? I think this would be an ideal time to dive headfirst into the shallow end of the pool and go through some shoot or pistol whip. Conspiracy theorists without a theory. Now, I will buy into any conspiracy theory you want to throw to me, so long as there's some kind of semblance to logic to it. Like, you can say all the crazy shit you want, just back it up. Even with crazy shit, you can say there's fucking lasers in outer space that, made my dick small, and that's why I couldn't perform properly last night. That's fine. But provide a little bit of context to what you're saying. I had someone start questioning the testing procedures for the coronavirus, saying, you don't find it strange it's the only test that goes purely through the nose? And I was like, well, they go through your nose and your mouth. They're like, no, they don't. I said, yes, I've had 2 tests done. One, because I was concerned a family member might have had it. The second, just because I sleaze around with the wrong kinds of people. And he asked me, don't you find that weird? And I said, well, I'm not exactly an epidemiologist or anything even remotely close to that, so how can I even have an opinion on this? Then an awkward silence set in. So I followed up my statement with a question. Okay, so if it is strange, if this is the sign of some government conspiracy, to what end? What would be the purpose of this? And then they stared at me blankly, without a reply. I don't know. So that would be a pistol whip. I could go as far as to say shoot, but this is a person that I admire and highly respect, so I'll just a pistol whip. Just enough to be like, come on. Personally, if I don't have something to back up my crazy theories, it usually circles back to an owl swooped down and caused whatever situation. Shoot or pistol whip. The people that forced the owner of Lululemon out of business. Well, not really out of business, but he had to step down from his position, the creator of Lululemon. Basically, he had said something along the lines that skin-tight revealing clothing isn't ideal for all body types. I don't know if he said it quite as politely, but the backlash he received and had to step down from his job. Now, to those responsible, that's a shoot. Like Jason Bourne style shooting. Fucking, you're swerving off the bridge after this, okay? Let's not beat around the bush. Basically, he was saying, these pants are not intended to be stretched out the size of a canopy on your 25-foot deck. Not what they're made for. Now, it's not a jab at those with a little bit extra to love. That's fine. No one's judging you on your body type. They're saying that's not what these fucking clothes were made for. It's like there's a reason I don't wear skin-tight V-necks around. It's because I'll look like an overcooked sausage. So it's not an attack on your right of being a person. It's just the reality. No one wants to see me dressed like a loaf of bread walking around with too much yeast in the mix. Come on. Now, the news media, that's a shoot right there. Oh my God, that's just shoot them dead. It's like the fact there's nothing even remotely close to a centrist view on the news is absurd. How can we expect anyone to have a reasonable outlook on events that happen? The left and right news media can't be on the same page for anything. Christ, they're not even playing the same fucking sport. Okay, the people that are all up in arms about when people try and make a distinction between body positivity and encouraging unhealthy lifestyles. Like, yeah, be proud of yourself. You don't need a six-pack. You don't need a body fat percentage of 0.02%. Leave that to me. But if you're going to eat like you truly hate yourself and you're diabetic at fucking 36, that's not society or the medical system's problem. That's your problem. You know, like if I had kept huffing Pine Sol the way I did between 99 and 2005, when I'm a brain-dead, pine-obsessed waste of space, whose problem is that? That'd be my own. So I moved on to more natural cleaning products. And finally, the court of public opinion, or as I like to call them, the angry mob of the righteous. Now this is a shoot beyond any weapon I could even describe. Shoot them dead and just slowly push them into the river, okay? I want to see their bloated corpses floating by my home. This idea that like gang rule makes you more righteous is fucking absurd. Now, of course, this court of public opinion can only be described as having the same caliber and integrity as that strange gray streak I get in the center of my boxers after a night of $2 tacos and high-intensity interval training. Right after that, we're going to move on to good bad. A good, this fostering of positivity and understanding online. The bad is when this becomes a pissing contest on social media of who cares about the world more. Like all these people showing their charitable endeavors while filming it for their YouTube channel. Yes, that shows the true nature of your heart. A good, doing your own research, being informed, and educating yourself. The bad is that the Dunning-Kruger effect has turned everyone with 3 spare minutes into experts into any given field. It's kind of hard to have a respectable debate with anybody when everybody is right. That being said, do I believe everything that the government says? No. Do I have idiot tattooed across my forehead? I had that removed in 2018, thank you. Do I accept everything I read online as fact? Fuck no. I grew up as a wrestling fan. So I'm a jaded, entitled, cynical piece of garbage who trusts nothing and no one. Now, as hodgepodge and off the rails that this episode was, it was a delight to record, and we are now nearing the end of this week's episode. I'd like to thank you for listening. We're going to touch quick on some upcoming subjects for next week to make sure to keep you guys in the loop. So next week, I will start a social movement for justice with myself as its key figurehead, as well as its first victim. Of course, weeks later, I'll reveal it was all a complete fabrication. I did so for online clout, but strangely, no one will call me out on the fact that I completely debase and trivialize legitimate victims. And also, that salty taste in your mouth in the morning. Just a regular part of your body's process, or should you be locking your windows at night? All that and more next week. My name is Wes Dawson. Thank you so much. So please listen, like, share, and subscribe. No, seriously, please. I kind of had this ongoing deal with my mother that if I had at least 400 subscribers by the end of the year, I could continue living in her basement. That is not happening, and I cannot go back to living on the street. I really can't. So please, you have to help me.